Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for the organizers for inviting Green Dot to present what we believe is important for the future on the circularity of the plastics industry. I've been myself very much involved in this over the last 30 years in a different capacity. I was the managing director of the European Plastics Converters Federation, which had about 50,000 companies converting plastics, recycled plastics and virgin plastics. And I was managing the European Plastics Recyclers Organization also for 20 years. So I've been seeing the evolution over these 3 decades, how the plastics industry basically had evolved, and knowing that you have to move from recycling also to full circularity if you want to survive and decarbonize the industries in Europe, something Europe needs, but something the planet needs as well. I joined Green Dot more than 2 years ago, basically because I wanted to live by myself how circularity would be possible. Having been talking with politicians for 30 years, you realize you remain very theoretical on many, many aspects. So I wanted to go deep dive into how can we really push for full circularity. Green Dot's role, some of you know Green Dot as the licensing symbol. It's the oldest EPR system in the world. It was created early 90s during the unification of Germany, where the Western German were used to dump in East Germany most of their waste. With unification, a solution needed to be found. And Klaus Töpfer, which was the environmental minister, basically decided to set up an extended producer responsibility scheme, so giving the industries a chance to organize these systems. At the beginning, Green Dot was the only actor in Germany, serving 80 million consumers. Today, after 30 years, the Green Dot, which is a privately owned system, is amongst the 10 operating systems which are profit-based systems. Often we associate EPR with non-for-profit. There is a slight difference in this. We believe that getting access to feedstock through licensing of packaging allows us as well to continue to invest in the next levels and the assets which are required. So we see ourselves as really an orchestrator of the value chain of licensing companies which are putting packaging on the market, ensuring that everything is being collected, properly sorted, and back to recycled. And on recycling side, we go for pure mechanical recycling, where it makes sense, and we advanced recycling or even go to pyrolysis or chemical recycling activities. This is where our company is moving forward. This is an example of how we incorporated the post-consumer household waste into transport packaging with some of our clients, where we reached up to 20%. Now, some may say this is low because we don't reach yet the 30%, but we are talking really about the bad household waste quality, which is being collected separately in the lightweight fraction in Germany. We're not talking here about industrial packaging waste, but purely post-consumer material. One slide about Germany. As I said, Germany started in the 90s with EPR systems. And you see here how advanced we are and what the targets are for 2030 in terms of recycling rates. This chart basically indicates that even if you have 10 systems competing with themselves, amongst themselves, in a country of 80 million people, you can reach extremely high recycling rates. The objective is even go beyond the 68% rate that we have achieved in 2023 and to go to 80% towards 2030. For that, of course, additional feedstock needs to go more to recycling. And looking at the objectives which have been set by the Packaging and Packaging Waste Regulation, it's evident that we need to take out of the streams which is still going to incineration in Germany. This is where we focus on. We focus on pre-treatment of material, move the feedstock from incineration to chemical recycling, pre-treatment and pyrolysis plants. With it, we are able to supply pyrolysis oil to naphtha crackers in Germany, other parts of Europe, in order to produce circular polymers. So this is basically our business model. This slide is showing just a project we had with PepsiCo, how we orchestrated the whole supply chain, moving from using Plastics Energy as technology provider. We then moved the produced pyrolysis oil to Ineos. They made sure that Irplast was making the first polypropylene film, laminated at Amcor, and sold to PepsiCo. So this is just an example of many which are taking place right now in order to prepare the future requirements of the legislation in 2030. I would have liked to show a video, but I think maybe just to indicate if there is a link, we can show the video, which is a video on our sorting facility that we have invested in Austria, which gives you an idea on how complex sorting is today, but how complex it has to become if we need to define and segregate the waste streams according to the different polymer types. This is extremely important if we really want to move forward on the recycling content targets for each kind of polymers. I understand there is no possibility to show the video.
Earth and a flat surface here. We, however, see a blank slate. From the very beginning, we had a clear vision to make history here. In 2023, we entered a new era of plastic recycling and began constructing a plant of the superlative, unparalleled in Austria and throughout Europe. The location in the heart of Europe, at the upper Austrian port of Enns, allows threefold transport connections via road, railway, and by ship. On site, we focused on sustainable materials and a largely energy self-sufficient line operation. The result is Europe's most modern plastic sorting plant, a digitized high-tech wonder equipped with sensors and artificial intelligence, capable of sorting 100,000 tons of plastic waste per year into over 20 raw materials. With this sorting depth, we significantly contribute to achieving recycling quotas, not only in Austria, but throughout Europe. Doing so, we provide a central element for a successful circular economy and take joint responsibility for our environment and future generations. The know-how of our employees is at the very heart of our company. Their passion, dedication, and tireless efforts make it all possible and lead us to success. Today, we are not just standing in front of a plant, but we are looking at a milestone of our mission for a more sustainable future. All thanks to the cross-border recycling partnership of ARA, Werniger, and Green Dot. Tree Trust, sorted for a better future.
Yes, thank you. So the video indicates where we believe investments have to take place in the years to come in order to reach the objectives of the packaging and packaging waste regulation. Technologies exist, they are there. Feedstock needs to be handled, feedstock needs to be treated, feedstock needs to be fine-tuned in order to drive this circularity. We heard from Ernest how depressing the mood is in Europe right now, and he's right. I was in Amsterdam a couple of weeks ago, where the opening statement of the president of the Plastics Recyclers Europe Federation was, by 2030, you will have 50% less recyclers in Europe than today. As a president of a European organization, I was shocked listening to these kind of phrases. But things are changing. Restructuring is taking place. And Europe, which is today the only attraction pole, because we created a market for recycled content. It's the only market in the world that was created. That should not stay like this. That should change. We should develop regional circularity hubs So my plea to the European Commission is export what you're good at, export the knowledge of the regulations you have set up. Maybe some adjustments will be needed, because Ernest is right, we have gone too far in terms of administration, reporting and bureaucracy. But 80% of what was done is good. It's good for the planet, it's good for the environment, it's good for society, and it's good for business. So my plea really is, and I hope to see in 5 to 10 years, mandatory recycled content in other regions of the world. India is starting. I hope Turkey is going to do the same. Because if you believe that Turkey will only be manufacturing to export back to Europe, I think it's the wrong choice. I think it's important to create this circularity in Turkey as well, and that needs to be driven by legislation. The same applies with food contact. We need to make sure similar regulations take place in other parts of the world. When it comes to what the European Union should be doing, because there's a lot of pressure today coming from industry to the European Union, how to protect the European assets, how to protect the European infrastructures. We could, for example, add under the CBAM regulation, which is the Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism, we could include recycled polymers and make sure that whenever you import recycled polymers from certain countries, equal games are being played. Yes, we have high energy costs. We have to balance this again, because Europe needs, as they don't have their own natural resources, they need to develop a circular economy. And they need, and they will, in my view, protect it for the future. When it comes to your question, certification is key. Reliability is key. We have been developing several certification schemes already since a couple of years, and I think that needs to continue. So making sure that the right certification schemes are being put in place, and making sure that we have the right auditors to control these certification schemes. This is even more challenging, because often we get auditors which do not have any experience of the plastics industry controlling plastics factories. This is something also that needs to change. So I'm very happy that Certiloop is developing in this direction. I'm very excited to see how Certiloop can also move in the other way. Certiloop is a part of Polycert Europe, which is also developing different schemes, also for the PET food contact, together with Petcore, and this is very important for the future. And finally, my last point, I said it already before, we need to stimulate in the world regional circularity hubs. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you.